Alright viewers, welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. Got us a 2014 Chevrolet, or GMC. It's got the big 5.3 in it. Came with a love note. And he writes, I figured I'd type this out so you could actually read what it says. Anyway, the truck has a bit of a clunk. For as long as I've owned it for the past 5 months, and I figured it was just sway bar end links. I recently replaced the shock since I had the originals on it with 118K on them. They were pretty well worn. And in the process, I figured I'd replace the end link since it would make the shock installation easier and there's no way that they were going to just unbolt. I installed the shock that doubled as a 2-inch front end lift level. New AC Delco Pro sway bar end links. The AC Delco driver side CV axle since the boot was torn and the grease splattered everywhere and I had no clue how long it had been torn since before I bought it and didn't want to risk just rebooting it, and no lie, it was much easier. The truth comes out. Where were we? After that, still had a clunk going over pumps and in certain situations, and I quickly turned into a squeaking, creaking coming from the lower ball joints, so I replaced those with AC Delco Pro. And in the process, realized the uppers were kind of floppy, and the tie rods were kind of rough, so I ordered Kryptonite, not a sponsor, upper control arms and tie rod end links. Since it needed alignment anyways, just do it all at once and be done. There's still a bit of a squeak when turning the wheels, come from the driver's side. I'm assuming it's the upper arms, ball joints, the original's not happy about life. But if it still is there when all these parts are on, then maybe I should actually pay a professional to diagnose it. Anywho, and then he goes on to say a couple things. Call me, and if you read this, give a shout out to Brian and Randy. There's your shout out, Brian and Randy. Whoop, whoop. So it's time to get this party started. So he wants us to replace these upper control arms. He says the ball joints are bad, or that's where he believes his noise is coming from. So we're going to get this done. We've got to get this bracket off here. I assume they're going to go on the new control arms, and then you can see, put some new Foxes in there, some Fox floaties. I don't know, some kind of adjustable gizmo there. We'll spray down the bolts here. Hopefully they come out well. If not, I think we keep those cams right in stock. For whatever reason, these bolts like to snap off. We'll give it some time to penetrate. And then there's some plastic pieces here. You just got to break these off. These are put in from the factory. They're not needed any longer. It's a quick way to tell if you take your truck in to have a wheel alignment done on your Chevrolet. Tell if the guy's lying to you or not, because those plastic things are still in there. Either A, it didn't need camber caster adjustments, or B, they're a bunch of liars, because that's where you make your adjustments. Now I won't be surprised if this bolt breaks, but it didn't. This goes right in the upper control arm, holds the brake hose and the ABS wire here. So kind of set that to the side. We're going to take and crack these loose, and then we'll crack the ball joint loose and let that snap up before we take them all the way out. Now I hope, oh thanks Jay, thanks for ruining the video. YouTube's gonna be mad. I was gonna put you on there as the most eligible bachelor, but you're just kicking my camera now. As I was saying before we were rudely interrupted, I'm hoping that we can loosen these up, move them in, and get the bolts out without taking the struts off. Hopefully. We'll crack this loose, if it wants to come loose. Yeah, baby! Doesn't appear that it wants to cooperate. At this point, we'll stick a ratchet wrench on it. We could use a breaker bar. There we go. Now we're cooking. The old double up the wrench trick. Alright. Alright, that one's moving free. If you're ever doing these at home and you take these off, you got to get it in to get the wheel alignment done. That is a must do. Sounds like there might be a murder happening over in the other bay. Alright, so we'll get that one loose, we'll get the other one loose. Penetrating oil seems to do nothing for it. Alright, beautiful. Now there's a couple pins that these cam bolts move on. I don't know what you guys can see what side you're on, but there's some pins here that go into these cams. You got to make sure this is all freed up. If you break those pins off, Don't worry about it. They do make new pins, but you gotta press them in and then put a little tack weld on them. That's been my experience. Let's see here. See if this one wants to cooperate. Oh, much easier than the other side. Must be I had more time to penetrate. See if that one will. Alright, that one's fantastic. That's half the battle right there. And then this should flip it around here. Yep, and that one's movable too, so that's good. They move. Fantastic. We'll take and loosen up the ball joint now. Not that it does anything. Alright, we'll see if we can't crack this baby loose. Oh, maybe it did do something. That went super smooth. I already had that unhooked. That came apart way too easy. I don't know what is going on over there. We'll have to go investigate here in a minute. Dogs barking, kids screaming.
Like a regular day, huh?
Yeah. So we're gonna leave that. So somebody's already beat the hell out of this. So those are not my marks. So now I'm not gonna feel bad putting my own marks on there. We'll leave this on a couple 2-3 threads. That way it doesn't go flinging on us. What is going on over here? Is this oh, we got gym class? How do you play that game without holding a beer in one hand and trying to get them in the other?
Is that why I'm not making it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, I got stuck.
It throws off your balance. Trust me. I know these things. Now we know what's happening. The first official video of using Thor. That is Big Nasty's big brother, aka Thor, aka the dog. Submit. Just haven't been able to put Thor in a video as of late. Used it a lot. Used it enough to know it don't play. That thing is mean and it's hell on bits. It will break one of those bits. Not the hammer bit, but I broke a chisel bit already. So we're gonna probably have to put a strap on this to hold it to the frame to keep it from pulling out on that CV axle. It's not too bad. We'll see what happens here. But if you're worried about popping your CV axle apart, you know, just put a strap from here to here. I'll show you. Just like so. So that'll hold that. Now this should be all loose. We'll finish taking those nuts off. Avoca.
Those nuts.
We'll get them off and then see if the arm will come out. Get the outer cam off. Do the same thing on this side here. Knock it through. Get the outer cam off because these will have to kind of wire wheel and clean up a little bit on the old whizzy wheel. Now the inner one, I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but it's on that bolt. Obviously, that's where it is. I gotta feel bad for Josh today. Right, Jay?
What's that?
That's good birth control for Josh.
Yeah. Good thing we're working on this side.
I don't know if that's gonna clear. We'll see. Probably not. Oh, it does. Oh, looky me. So we've got to knock that one off. It's rusted right to the shaft. We'll stick it in the vise, just tap on this. That'll pop loose. Piece of cake. Now, take that baby off. I don't feel any play in them. You know, they are a little wiggly, but I don't feel them popping. Perhaps the other side. We'll see. So I'm going to take and clean this up a little bit while I've got these out. Just kind of brush off some of the loose debris in here, and then we'll blast it out with a blow nozzle before we get the new arms in. Oh, I hope Superman's not around. Because I'm about to unleash a box of Kryptonite. I don't even know if that means anything, but let's see. What's this say? Important, read the instructions. Professional front end alignment be required. Alright.
Can we go home to get my stuff?
Absolutely not.
Ballet?
Nope.
Why?
You got ballet today?
Yes.
Then sure.
Okay.
Let's see. So there's something on there. Whoa, look at these babies. Wow. That's fancy. Wonder which one we need. We need the one that looks like this. So it must be this one, I'm assuming. And it's already got some bushings in it. It's got the bushing kit. Those are already in it. Looks like it comes with like some old style GM replaceable ball joints. These are gonna be like what they use like in old K series. The bolt-in ones, that's what it looks like the ones they use in the S10s and stuff. So there's that. Must be they don't come assembled because this one doesn't have the bushings in it. So maybe the fella who owns it might have put them in. Looks like we've got some bolts. Here we've got some grease fittings for the upper bushings. Fancy. I'll go through and read the directions to see if there's anything of the utmost importance in here. Stock size tires will not fit on factory wheels without rubbing the control arms. Well, it's got the Chevy rubber on it in the aftermarket wheel package, so we should be okay. Not a whole lot in the instructions, folks. Basically, we're talking about their control arms and that when you do the alignment, that the alignment tech will tell you that he can't get the vehicle lined up, and they basically stated that it was his misunderstanding of how alignment was done, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they want 0.8 of a degree of cross-caster, cross-caster, cross-camber, cross-caster. We'll try that again. And something more of a value higher than 2 degrees. So, and apparently these arms are made and machined in such a way that they already add a certain amount of positive caster to it to allow for the chubby rubber in the big wheel package. So it doesn't seem like too big a deal. I put the grease fittings in. I've taken the bolts and the cams, did myself a favor, cleaned them up, threw them in the sandblaster. Now I'm going to take and get these things all slicked up with some grease, and then we'll slip them back in how they need to be. And this will make life a lot easier for us. Granted, I get the correct ones on the correct side. Let's see if we can't sneak this one back in here. Just wipe my hand off. Now that I've got it covered with goo, we're gonna make a mess. That's all there is to it. Sneak that back in here. Kind of hold on to that. Get the arm up where we need it. Should be able to just sneak it in there behind the strut. Now I don't remember if this had factory struts on it. If you're able to do this, for some reason I thought you had to pull the struts, but I could be wrong. We're gonna get this spun around, lined up with the pin. We'll get the other side in. We'll put the other cam on here. Let me get some grease. And I just grease up, both faces of it. Just keep it from rusting. Make it slide a little bit easier for us. But if you take a few minutes to get that stuff cleaned up, get the bolt cleaned up, get the cams cleaned up, make this move nice and easy, your alignment guy will thank you. Trust me. And bring them a box of donuts and a thing of coffee from Dunkin' Donuts if you're already there.
KryptoniteProducts.com.
Not a sponsor.
For sales, press 1. For technical questions, press 2. For all other including...
The number you dialed is not a valid extension.
Sure it is.
Thank you for calling
I'll try 1. Maybe.
The number you dialed is
Nope,
not a valid
extension either. Maybe 0. Oh, they just hung up on me. Fantastic.
Thank you for calling Kryptonite Products, where our goal is to make the strongest product on the market for your heavy-duty truck or performance.
Hey, can I speak to somebody in the technical department, please?
I'll do my best to help you. What's going on?
Oh, sure. I've got a set of your upper control arms kit for a 13 Chevrolet half-ton. And it states in the instructions that the ball joints need to be installed on the top side of the control arms if there is no lift kit in the truck, and on the bottom side of the control arms if there is. This particular vehicle has a 2-inch leveling kit. Is that still considered stock suspension height?
Yeah. No, put it on the bottom.
Okay, so put the ball joint on the bottom and then bolt it to the control arm.
Exactly.
Okay, very good. That's all I need to know.
Have it.
Thank you. He was helpful. Try this again. We don't have everything tightened up just yet. We're just getting these somewhat close, not jamming them all the way. Said they needed to be torqued to 22 foot-pounds. So we're just going to get them kind of close. This is a pretty weak impact, so we won't snug them up hard. Easy. Take that one a little bit more. We'll go get the torque wrench. Now, I was talking to the fella because I read in the directions that if it is at the stock height, the ball joint needs to go on top, and if it's not stock, it goes on the bottom. So I just wanted to make sure that the 2-inch lift, or leveling kit, whatever they call it, makes it not stock. I assumed it did, but I didn't want to be wrong. I'll finish them off here. It did say 22 foot-pounds on these, so we'll go through and finish tightening these up. That is not very snug, but must be snug enough. Keep them from falling off anyways. And they said everything is pre-greased, so I think they were just kind of stating, don't be an animal, all right? When you start filling these full of grease. I can only imagine what kind of calls the tech support gets throughout the day. I didn't mean to insult the sales guy by asking for tech support, but I just assumed with the phone prompts that they had a separate team for that. Could be wrong. These are not very tight at all, folks. But they're tight as they want them, I guess. The thing that's concerning is it said in the directions to check your ball joints every 2,500 miles for looseness and replace as needed. I'm not really sure I'd want to go with a ball joint company that I had to check it in between oil changes. But to each their own, I guess. We will install the grease fitting. Now it did say, I don't have to go through and reread it, but it was saying to take this bracket off and to zip tie everything to the control arm. But I see there is a hole right here, which I could put the bracket into. It kind of sits off to the side like that. We can still put the ABS on, I guess, so long as the wheel doesn't hit it. Why wouldn't we do that? Let me get the directions. Oh, let's see here, instructions, blah, blah, blah. Ball joints. The ABS and brake line must be rerouted to avoid binding and contacting with any moving parts. Use a zip tie to secure ABS and brake line to the mounting tab on the back side of your new control arm. It may be necessary to bend, modify, or remove the factory brake line mounting bracket for a clean and secure fit under the control arm. So, that's what it wants us to do, and then zippy tie it all together. They must be wicked expensive. The packaging is super fancy. So I haven't tightened these arms up yet, so just a little FYI, let you know. Let me get this out of the way. That's weird. It doesn't want to draw into the taper. I did read something like this. I think it said we got to drill it out, perhaps. Let me get out the directions. It was just stating that if the threaded portion doesn't come through the knuckle, that you have to run a 9/16 drill bit through the hole. I decided to use my plastic hammer and give it a light tap. And it popped right down through without a hitch. Must have had a little burr in there. Now it tells you to use this 9/16 flat washer if the cotter pin hole doesn't line up with the castle nut. I'm going to take and tighten it down to 50 foot-pounds. It's 50, in which case it should line up perfectly with the hole at that point. But you all know that is a lie. It won't work like that. Why? Because it never does. Looks like we need a 22. Now this one is snugged up to 50 foot-pounds and then a little extra. Came with a pre-bent cotter key or split pin. We're going to have to tap that in ever so slightly. See if we can use the end of Brooksy here. Get that through, and then we'll bend that down and around in a way that it will hold in case the castle comes loose. and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do with the brake business over here. We're just gonna give it a couple of little shots of grease here. It's lots of warnings about not over greasing, so we're just gonna give her a couple of shots. Now I'm not gonna tighten these up yet until I get the other side done. We'll set it down, put it at ride height, snug them up, and then go do the wheel line. So he said he got us some outer tie rod ends, so we're gonna see. We can't just break these loose. Crack that loose there. The jam nut. See what we need there. Probably a 21. What do we got here? We got a 22 and a 21. 21 it is. Probably should stick the Ugga Dugga gun on there. Oh, actually that's coming right off. Very smooth. Wow, this is just like an episode of Horsepower TV. In the next 20 minutes we'll be driving a blower on this thing.
Everything always goes pretty smooth on those TV shows.
Yeah.
Nothing ever breaks, you know?
Yeah, the guys have sweet mullets too.
Yeah, jealous.
Oh, we'll bring out Brooksy. We'll give it a tap. That came right off. We're gonna unspin it. Now I'm not too concerned, but we'll still count the threads here. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, 18 we'll call it. Close enough. Now don't be a tool. If you're taking it to the shop, get the jam nut freed up for them, folks. It only takes a minute. Sprayed it with a little thruster. I totally just grabbed the wrong side. I did. What a dink. Round 2. Should be in much further than we have to go, providing the aftermarket Kryptonite, not a sponsor. Tie rod ends are the same length as our OEM. We'll see. I added that sound effect. I didn't really do that when I opened it. We got some bleeders, individually wrapped jam nuts. Wow, I'm anxious to see these things. Oh, I had them sitting on a little pillow. Ready? Boom! Look at that. Fancy. Alright, so let's just kind of compare to the OEM to see overall length, center to the outside there. Just to make sure we don't need to clean up any more threads. So roughly to the middle, to the outside, they appear to be about the same. So we'll be good in those regards. So let's go get these things screwed on there.
Don't touch the paper towels.
Oh, are they almost out? Damn it. Poor Josh, the kid's gonna hate us.
I got it last time.
That's right, I do the same thing with the toilet paper. I see it's getting low, I just don't use it. Nobody tricking me into changing that roll.
Yeah.
So we're gonna smear a little grease on these to make life easy for us. That's what we like, a nice easy life. We'll spin this little guy on. But yeah, seriously, if you're taking it to the shop and you're just doing a tie rod end or something, get that jam nut freed up for your alignment guy. And buy him a box of donuts. And some coffee from Dunkin' Donuts if you're already there. One of those box of Joes, trust me. Even if he doesn't drink coffee, somebody else in the shop will. But I can't think I've ever met a mechanic that doesn't drink the coffee and eat the donuts. We're usually not very health conscientious people. Unless we work with our wives. Although today I did have smoked salmon on crackers with capers. I felt real fancy eating lunch. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 8, almost 18. We're 17 and a half, folks. I didn't go far enough. I need to get a hanky. We got to spin that jam nut in a wee bit more. If you have to drive your truck to the alignment shop, perhaps use a method a little better than mine. to get your alignment a little bit closer. I really don't care because I'm only driving one bay over. So there's 18 and there's 19. So it really doesn't matter to me. If I was going to my brother's shop, I drive it a mile or so down the road, I would probably just eyeball it. To be honest with you, I'm not even going to jam that nut down super tight. We'll get that stuck up in the arm now, and we'll be good to go. But if you have to drive it a long ways, you're going to want to get it somewhat close, to be honest with you. Wipe some of our smooge off. Now I did snug it up to factory specs, tighten her down, put the cotter pin in it. I didn't see this come with any instructions about to grease or not to grease. The boots look extremely flat in it. So we'll pump them up until they explode. Just kidding. We'll just put a few pumps in it. Make sure it's happy. I don't want to over grease. They're pretty adamant about that on the upper ball joints. Okay, that's that. I don't know what to do with the stuff here until we get the tires on and see what kind of clearance we have. So I've got a jack under the front suspension now. The car's back on the ground. And we're going to take and snug these upper control arms up now that they're at the factory ride height. I've got the other side all done. We won't kill them because we have to crack them back loose on the alignment machine, but we want them tight enough that we can get an accurate measurement of caster and camber. Now I've elected to follow instructions like I normally do. And we used the zip tie method. We took the factory bracket off and just zip tied them how they wanted them. So hopefully there's no issues there. And I guess that's it, folks. So there you have it, folks. Your full Kryptonite upgrade for your Chevrolet. All greasable and whatnot now. Kryptonite tie rod end. Fox shocks. Pro Series other stuff on there, according to the note. So now we've just got to go over and do the wheel alignment. Josh has got a car on the rack. So as soon as he gets that off, we'll take this little guy over and make sure I've got everything snugged up. We should be good to go. It looks fancy. Oh wow, I got grease all over his shock. We'll go check on the boy Josh. How's he doing over here? Yeah, I can't the camera, Josh.
Oh boy.
Oh, he's got some green up on the screen. Screen is good. Looks like he's getting there, tuned in there for us. Got the vice grips going on. So our thrust angle is a little bit off in here. So this is showing that the rear axle is in a little bit cattywampus. Not uncommon to see. Not an adjustable fact anyways, or not adjustable rather, other than loosening up your U-bolts, shifting the rear axle around, or putting a new U-bolt. Oh, he's got the Fox shocks in the back. Well, that's about it for the Chevrolet, folks, besides taking a shake around town, but it's just a smidge after 5. So as soon as Josh gets that done, I'm going to take her for a rip, see how she goes. One thing you got to remember on these newer Chevrolets with the electric steering racks is when the alignment's done, you're not all done. Plug in your big fancy scan tool, as Scotty says, and you have what they call the active pole compensation. It has to be reset so the electric steering can actively compensate for a pull. Let's say you have a tire that's pulling on your vehicle and it notices a certain amount of steering wheel torque applied to your steering wheel consistently over time. The steering will start to make up for that pull. So essentially, if you don't clear that out of the memory, when you drive the vehicle, let's say it had a pull, but now you fix the alignment and now the pull's gone, the pull could be there because the electric steering assist is making it pull, I guess, if that makes sense. They also have what they call, I had to look it up because I couldn't remember the name of it, the smooth road shake compensation. So your electric steering can make up for some shimmy in the front end, like from wheel balance. So you have to go through, particularly if you rebalance tires on these or put new tires on or move them, do wheel alignments, anything that's going to change any of that geometry in the front end, you want to go through and clear the adaptations out of it also. And I don't believe that they have a steering angle sensor reset. I just did a module programming on one of these and I don't remember seeing that in there, but if it has electric steering rack, you gotta make sure that that's reset too, so it knows that straight is straight. And I think that's it, folks. That's all I can remember. There might be more. Take it to a shop. That's all I can tell you. That's my advice. My other advice for you is to go on down in that comment section. Questions, comments, criticisms, concerns. Put it all down there. Put how you're feeling and whatever you want, really. Socials, Facebook, the Insta. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.